Okay. Okay. Anirudh, 3. Okay. Good morning, Nanda. Okay. Did you write? Did you guys write any test recently in Epsilon Academy? Did you write any test yesterday? Okay. So can we discuss the question paper? We have quickly. We'll finish it. Can you just send me the question paper? 1 second. I don't know whether I have it. 1 second. Hold on. Okay, I do. 1 second. Let me share my screen. Okay, we'll start. The nature of binding forces in carbon dioxide molecule is, you have to understand that it is London forces. Okay, because you see that carbon dioxide is a non-polar molecule. Okay, this is a non-polar molecule, so definitely you will have only van der Waals forces present between one carbon dioxide, another carbon dioxide. There is some force. This force is nothing but van der Waals force. Okay, and van der Waals forces are nothing but London forces. Okay, D is the correct answer to this question. Okay, next. The concentration of the solution is 0.3 10 moles per liter, that is molarity. What is the osmotic pressure at 300 Kelvin? Okay, you know what is the formula? Pi is equal to C into R into T. What is C? 0.3 into 10 to the power minus 2, and R value is 0.0821 R, and temperature is given as 300 Kelvin. You can do the calculation, right? So you would have had what? This would 10 to the power minus 2. 10 to the power minus 2 means this would be, okay, I can write this as 3 into 10 to the power minus 3, right? Anyways, don't worry about this. So you have 0.3 into 3, which is approximately 9 into this one, 0.0821. No answers are matching. Okay, anyways, you do the calculation, the answers are not matching here. Don't worry about it. Do the calculation and substitute it here. That will be the answer. Okay, fine. Next, which of the following processes, which of the following prepared by cyanamide process? It is urea. Okay, you have to know what is cyanamide process. It is not cyanamide, people, right? It is urea. Okay, next. Anisole reacts with a mixture of concentrated sulfuric acid and nitric acid to yield a mixture of ortho and para anisole. Okay, now the reaction is given to you, right? This is your anisole. You're going for nitration, H2SO4 and HNO3, forming ortho and para products. Okay, now which will be a major product? You have to understand that para is major product, right? Para is major and your ortho is minor, right? Why? Because of steric hindrance. Now you already have a group present here, so NO2 coming here and attacking will find it very difficult, right? The reason is steric hindrance. You know what is steric hindrance? Steric hindrance is crowdedness. Okay, ortho position little near ortho position little crowded, but para position is free, no crowdedness. So there only you will form the major product. Okay, so major product is para-nitroanisole. Okay, next. Which of the following, which is the correct order of reactivity of alcohols in the following reaction? Now, HCl, ZnCl2, this is your famous Lucas test, right? Right? And Lucas test, I know, tertiary will give me turbidity immediately. Right? And your secondary will take some time, 5 minutes, right? And primary will give only after heating. Right? So definitely the order would be tertiary greater than secondary greater than primary, right? That is option A. Right. Next, an example for globular protein. Globular protein is albumin. Okay, right. Next, which tungsten metal? Okay, this I asked them. This question was changed, I guess, right? What was seventh question? Can someone tell me what was the seventh question? Seventh question was changed, I guess. Right? First of all, is this the question paper which I'm discussing? Did you write yesterday? People, is this the question you wrote yesterday?
Yes, sir.
Question. Okay. Oh, fine. So the seventh question was changed, I guess, right? Is this a question which you got or what? Seventh question is this one. Did you get the same question or different question? Seventh one. Okay, anyways, it is not there in your syllabus. Okay, this is from D and F block.
Sir, different question, sir.
Different question. What was the question?
Sir, the question is the process of converting alkyl halides into alcohols involves dash.
Substitution. Okay,
Substitution.
so the answer is substitution, right? Alkyl halide into alcohol. Basically, what are you doing? You are going for replacing OH minus with Cl minus. This is a substitution reaction. Okay, fine. Next, the amount of NaOH required to neutralize 1.5 liters of 0.1 HCl. Okay, you don't have normality in your syllabus, so don't worry about it. Okay, fine. Next, affinity for hydrogen decreases in the group from fluorine to iodine. Yes, correct, right? FH bond is very strong. Iodine H bond is very, very weak. Right? Which of the halogen acids will have the strongest what this would have? The highest bond is an enthalpy. Whichever is the strongest bond, it is very difficult to break. Is it not? So that's why we say that HF is the very weak acid, because I will not be able to break the bond and HF cannot come out because of high bond decision enthalpy for HF. Okay, so that's the answer. Next, which of the following compounds will give racemic mixture on nucleophilic substitution of OH minus? They're talking about SN1 reaction. Okay, which of the following will give me a racemic mixture? So I have to first identify the chiral center first. All are chiral centers. Okay, so this is a chiral center, right? Because you see 4 different groups attached, right? This is also chiral center, Br. Oh, this is not a chiral center. No, Br, same, right? So here in this case, you see that here in this case, if you take this as the chiral center, right? If you take this as this is not the chiral center, right? Because it's having 2 H2s, right? But this carbon is a chiral center, right? This is a chiral center, but the chiral center should be there on the carbon atom possessing the halogen. Okay, possessing the halogen, no, then only racemization will happen. Please understand. Okay, if the next carbon atom is chiral, nothing will happen. Okay, so the answer is only A, right? Only A is chiral, and that chiral center is having the Br. That is what is more important. Okay, right. Next, benzylic halides. Benzylic halides means you have CH2 with the X. Benzene ring, CH2 and X is what is benzyl. Okay. So, what is the question? sp3 hybridized carbon atom next to the aromatic ring? Yes, absolutely. This carbon atom is sp3 hybridized. This carbon atom is sp2 hybridized, and that is having your X. Okay. Next. So this is correct, right? sp2 hybridized carbon next to the aromatic ring. No, this is sp3 hybridized. sp3 hybridized carbon next to the carbon-carbon double bond. An halogen atom attached to an alkyl group. Yes, it is attached to an alkyl group. What do they want? They want to know which is the wrong answer, right? I think they're talking about wrong one.
Sir, actually, it should be sp2 hybridized carbon atom next to.
See, sp3 hybridized carbon atom next to the aromatic ring. Sorry, first one if you check, right? This is sp3 hybridized carbon. Okay, next to the aromatic ring. Oh, next to the aromatic ring bonded to the halogen. Okay, this is wrong. So what are they trying to say is something like this, right? This is CH3. Okay, let me write this properly. Okay, X is there. All right. So this is what they're trying to say. This is your aromatic ring attached with your halogen. Next to that, I have a sp3 hybridized carbon. No, I need to have this kind of structures. Right. Next, sp2 hybridized carbon next to the aromatic ring. No, it is sp3 hybridized carbon. Okay. Next, sp3 hybridized carbon next to the carbon-carbon double bond. Yes, correct. You see that I have a carbon-carbon double bond everywhere, right? Now here you will have an sp2 hybridized carbon, sp3 hybridized carbon. So this is correct. Okay. Halogen atom bonded to the alkyl group. This is also correct. Okay, very weird question. Don't worry about this. Okay, all you have to understand is there is a benzene ring to which an sp3 carbon atom is attached, to that a halogen is attached. That is what is a benzylic halide. Okay, none of them are properly matching. Okay, fine. Next, two nucleic acid chains are wound to each other and held together by hydrogen bonds of hydrogen bond pair of bases. This is called, it's very easy, right? It's called secondary structure of DNA. Right? They're asking about two nucleic acid chains are bound to each other by held together by hydrogen bonds. Yes, right? Pair of bases. This is called secondary structure of DNA. But they can be, yeah, RNA doesn't have a secondary structure. It's a helix. It's a single helix, right? But DNA is a double helix. Right? You know, it's going to something look like this, right? This is your DNA, but RNA will be a single strand like this. So there is no hydrogen bonding here. Okay, fine. Next, which of the following is a network solid? Network solid means you have a network like this. So big network of this, right? So definitely diamond is the one who's going to have a network solid, you know, right? Okay, next. Molality of 98% H2SO4 is given based what? You have to convert mass percentage into molarity, capital M. Okay, now what is molarity formula? Number of moles of H2SO4. In this case, this is the solute divided by volume of solution into 1000. This is what we need to have. Okay, now what do you mean by 98% H2SO4? Means 98 grams of H2SO4 is present in 100 grams of the solution. This is what it means. Okay, 98 grams of H2SO4 present in 100 grams of solution. That's what it means by 98% H2SO4. Right. So now I already know what is the mass of H2SO4. Mass of H2SO4 is 98 grams. I can easily find the number of moles of H2SO4. Number of moles of H2SO4 is given mass 98 divided by the molecular mass of H2SO4 is also 98. So 1 mole. Okay. So now how do we find the volume of solution? For that only density is given. Right. So density of solution is equal to mass of the solution divided by volume of the solution. Density of solution is given as how much? 1.8. Okay, so 1.8 is equal to mass of solution. We know what is the mass of solution from the definition of the mass percentage. 100 grams of solution. Hope you know how we got this from the percentage. 98% means 98 grams of H2SO4 and totally 100 grams of solution. Right? So 1.8 mass of solution is 100 divided by volume. So volume is nothing but 100 divided by 1.8. Okay, so 100 divided by 1.8 approximately will be how much? 18 divided by 100 will be 72, 88, no, 72, 90, 5 times, right? 5.12 will come, so 120, 90, 190, 108, 118. Yeah, 5.6 approximately. Okay. Right. So the volume or the molarity calculation now will become 1 divided by 5.6 into 1000. This is what you will be getting. So do the calculation, you'll be able to get the answer easily. Okay. Right. Fine. Next. Okay, next, which gas is evolved when urea is treated with NaOH, right? It is actually going to be ammonia. Okay, right? You can see the reaction for yourself. Next, ethylidene dichloride. I think we already solved this question, right? It is actually going to be a vinyl dihalide. No, sorry, vinylic dihalide. Ethylidene dichloride should come. Okay, so remember that it's a vinyl dihalide. So it's like this. Ethylidene dichloride is looking like this. CH2Cl, CH2Cl. Now you know the next carbon atoms having the vicinity 2 chlorines, vinyl dihalides. Okay, next. Which of the following is the strongest acid? Now you have to understand that the conjugate base must be stable, right? If you remove the H plus, I have O minus, O minus, O minus, O minus, right? Whichever is the one which is going to be maximum stable, that is going to be the one which is going to be maximum acidic. Okay, now for this to become stable, you have to understand that the negative charge has to decrease. Everywhere negative charge has to decrease. Whichever has the least negative charge, please understand, I'll write these points. Acidic strength is directly proportional to the stability of the conjugate base. Right, and stability and charge are inversely proportional. Lesser charge, more stability. Okay, now we know NO2 is an electron withdrawing group, right? And it is there at para position, so very good, right? So this will show me plus R effect on this minus R effect, right? And OH is there, which is there. Now NO2 is there in para position. This will show me minus R, obviously, and also minus I. This is going to be inductive effect also, right? Because nitrogen is electronegative, so it will show me inductive effect also. Okay, fine. Now chlorine, not an answer because chlorine is a deactivating group. It is electron withdrawing, but it is very far away from this thing. Right? This is not even, this is meta, I guess. This is NO2 at meta. Not going to happen much. Only minus I. Minus R will happen, but it is not going to affect the OH group. Okay, so wherever you have least electron density, that is where you have maximum stability, maximum acidic strength. So minus R and minus I both are happening in B. So B is the correct answer to this question. Okay, right. Next, I hope everybody's understanding. If you can ask me whatever questions you have in mind, please don't keep mum, right? So yeah, I didn't understand. You can explain me again. Anything can be asked. Okay, next. The number of asymmetric carbon atoms means chiral centers. They are asking about chiral carbons, right? In the below figures are, right? You see that this is one chiral center. This is another chiral center. Four different groups. Okay. So how many chiral centers? I have only one chiral centers in both of them. Next, defects in solid can be studied using all of these. Okay, scanning, electron microscopy, optical microscopy, X-ray diffraction. All of these is the answer. Next, solution showing positive deviation from Raoult's law. You have to know this. Okay, you have to know the examples of positive deviation, negative deviation, maximum Pauling isotope, minimum Pauling isotopes. Definitely question will come. Look into the example and write this. You have to know the example. I am not remembering because I'm not writing the exam. Okay, but you have to remember. Okay, xenon difluoride, XCF2 has what shape? Right, we'll try to understand this. Right, now xenon has 8 valence electrons. Okay, 2 are involved in bonding. Done. So how many electrons I have? 6 electrons are left out. That means 3 lone pairs are present. So this belongs to the form AB2L3. 2 bonding atoms and 3 lone pairs. So AB2L3, right? Now, when I have AB2L3, when I have AB5, for example, I have trigonal bipyramidal geometry, right? Now, all the bonding, all the structure, all the places will be bonding atoms. Now, you have to understand that in these, I have to put 3 lone pairs, right? Now, you have to put the lone pairs in the equatorial position. That these are the equatorial positions. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Right, this and this are axial, so this is where you'll put your bonding atoms. Okay, now this is your geometry, trigonal bipyramidal, TBD, trigonal bipyramidal geometry. Now if you remove this, all the 3 electrons, all the 3 lone pairs, all you have is A, B, B. Now you see that this is actually what? Linear shape. This is your shape, right? And this is your geometry. Okay, so the answer is linear. They're asking about the shape, so it is linear. Next. Of the following hydride is the strongest reducing agent. Now, strongest reducing agent means it should easily give me H, right? Strongest reducing agent, it has to reduce something else, right? What is reducing agent? It has to add hydrogen to some other species, right? Fine. Now, which again, whichever case I can easily break the, say I have an AH bond, whichever can easily broken, this hydrogen can come out and add to the next compound, right? So whichever I can easily break the bond, so it should be ASH3, right? It should be what? Hydrogen, arsenic, bismuth. Yeah, it should be BiH3. That's the answer, right? Or you can also talk in terms of inert pair effect, right? Strongest reducing agent should undergo oxidation, right? Strongest reducing agent should undergo correct only, right? Oxidation, right? So if it has to undergo oxidation, Bi is already in +3 oxidation state. Can it easily go to +5? No, the answer is not like that. No, don't worry about it. Okay, you can just talk in terms of this bond breaking itself. BiH bond is the weakest, so I can easily remove the hydrogen. It can undergo reducing this thing. Okay, fine. Next, give the IUPAC name of the compound, this one, right? So you see that if I can write this CH3, CH2, CH2, CHBr, in the bracket I have a Br, then you have CH, CH3, CH2, CHO. Definitely the most prioritized functional group is CHO, right? So it has to end with al. How many als? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it should be heptanal. Heptan 1-al if you want to write. Okay, heptanal. Now you understand that I have to start the numbering from this carbon 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so in the third carbon atom methyl group, in the fourth carbon atom bromo. So you have to follow what is that? Alphabetical order. So 4 bromo, right? 3 methyl heptanal. So 4 bromo, 3 methyl heptanal right here, option A. Right. Next, choose the appropriate answers for the visual representation of the options given below. Okay. Now you see that this is plus, this is minus. Okay, so they are definitely stereoisomers. We know optical isomers are stereoisomers, right? They are dextro and levorotatory molecules. Plus means dextro, minus means levo. Obviously, plus and minus are what are called as enantiomers. So the correct option is all of these. Okay, next. Ozone reacts with KOH. Okay, I'm not sure. OH reacts with KOH to form. So potassium forms superoxide. Superoxide will be KO2, correct? So it will be O2 and KO2. Right. Next, an element formed by 2 elements A and B. The element B occupies cubic close packing, right? CCP. CCP is nothing but FCC. Okay, and atoms of A occupy the 1/3 of tetrahedral voids. Formula of the compound is. Now they say that element B forms the cubic close packing, means it is occupying all the lattice points. Okay, element B forms the cubic close packing, means it is occupying all the lattice points. Now if it occupies all the lattice points, I know number of atoms per unit cell in FCC is 4. Is it not? This is the number of atoms per unit cell, right? That is 4 in FCC, right? Now I know if at all I have n number of atoms, right, I will have n number of octahedral voids and 2n number of tetrahedral voids. So I can tell there are 4 atoms in FCC, so there are 4 octahedral voids, right? And I have 8 tetrahedral voids in FCC. This I can tell. This you can always remember. This is a very important point. Okay, if at all n atoms I have per unit cell, n octahedral voids and 2n number of tetrahedral voids. So I have 4 atoms here, 4 octahedral voids and 8 tetrahedral voids. Okay, fine. Now I can easily tell about B. B occupies all the 4 lattice points, so I will have 4 atoms of B. Okay, next, what they're telling, this thing, your tetrahedral voids are occupied by, A occupies 1/3 of tetrahedral voids. That means how many tetrahedral voids I have? 8 tetrahedral voids I have. In that only 3 or 1/3 of them are occupied. So basically what I have is 8/3 A atoms. So this cannot be this thing. So if you look at the ratio is 4:1. Okay, if I write A is to B, right? A is to B would be 8/3 is to 4, right? Obviously I cannot have a fractional value, so you multiply both by 3, right? So you'll get what? 8:12. Correct. 8:12 is what you will get. But again, I can further this thing. I'll multiply this by 3, this by 3. Okay. So 8/12, I can write this as 2:3, right? In four tables, 2:3. So what is the formula now? A2B3 is what is the answer. Okay. Right. So A2B3, option A is there. I hope everybody gets this. Okay. D atoms occupies FCC, directly 4 atoms. 4 atoms are there. So 8 tetrahedral voids are there. Only 1/3 are occupied. So I'm having 8/3 A atoms. So you have to do the ratio properly. You'll get the ratio as 2:3. Very simple. Okay. Next, the value of Henry's constant KH. Right now you understand P is equal to KH into X. Right. Okay. Now they're talking about solubility and KH value. Now, if pressure was constant, P by KH is what is your X. X is your solubility. Right. Now, can you see that X and KH, that your solubility and KH are inversely proportional? Because if pressure is constant, you see that as this increases, this will decrease. You know, they're inversely proportional, right? So they have greater for gases with lower solubility. No. Yeah, greater for gases with lower solubility. Less solubility means greater KH value. Yes, option A is correct. Right. Now you look at this. Greater for gases with higher solubility. No. For higher solubility, I should have lesser KH. Right. So option A is the answer. Next. DNA and RNA contains 4 bases each, which is the following bases not present in RNA. See, DNA, A, G, C, T, adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine. If it is going to be RNA, everything is same except that instead of T, you have uracil. Okay, so which is not present in RNA? T is not present in RNA. Thymine is not present in RNA. Okay, next. Iodine is liberated from Ki solution when treated with. Iodine is liberated from Ki solution when treated with copper sulfate. I think it's zinc sulfate. Okay, check this out. Right, check this question. Right. Okay, next. Which of the following is not tetrahedral in shape? Okay, now look at this. Okay, NH4 plus, if you check. Right. So now nitrogen, NH4 plus, nitrogen gets the positive charge. Okay. Now nitrogen had 5 valence electrons, but because of the positive charge, now it has only 4 valence electrons, and 4 valence electrons involved in bonding with 4 hydrogen, 0 lone pairs. There are no lone pairs on nitrogen. Okay. So now this belongs to the category of AB4. Now whenever you have AB4, it is tetrahedral. Right. You know how the tetrahedral looks. Now SF4. Right. Sulfur has how many valence electrons? 6 valence electrons. 4 are involved in bonding. So 2 electrons are left out. That means 1 lone pair is present. So this is of the form AB4L. Right. Only when you have AB4, it is tetrahedral. AB4L, you know what shape you will have? Something like this. Right. Say this is also going to have geometry to be trigonal bipyramidal geometry. Right. Now you have 4 bonding at. Okay. First, where you have to put the lone pair has to go to the equatorial position. Put the lone pair here. So B, 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 B. Now you forget that the lone pair is there. Let me write it like this. B, 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 B. And you see, you know that this shape is nothing but seesaw shape. Okay, so we got the answer. This is not tetrahedral. SO4 is not tetrahedral. SiCl4, again, you will see that it is AB4. SO4 2 minus, again, you see that it is AB4 tetrahedral. Right, the one which is not tetrahedral is SF4, which because it is having seesaw shape. Okay, next, which compound uses the preparation of caprolactam? Not in your syllabus. Caprolactam is in for polymers chapter. Okay, don't worry about this. Next, glucose does not give shift space because of the formation of cyclic forms of alpha and beta D plus glucose. We already know this, right? So glucose has 2 forms, anomeric forms, alpha form and the beta form, glucopyranose. Right. Okay. Next. And you have to understand that glucose is always plus. Okay. There is no way that you can go for minus. Right. Where all the places you have minus, it is only case you have plus. At least if you know this, you have to answer the question. Next. Alcohol undergoes dehydration. Dehydration by removal of water molecule from alkenes and treated with. I think we already know the answer. It is concentrated H2SO4. Very simple. Right. Say for example, CH3, CH2OH. On reacting with concentrated H2SO4, OH from this, H from this removes. So CH2 double bond CH2 minus H2. Okay, next. Which of the following is soluble in N-octane? Remember that N-octane is a non-polar solvent, right? So only non-polar solutes will dissolve in this. Okay, so definitely chloroform CHCl3, little polar, ethylene glycol. Ethylene glycol will be CH2OH, CH2OH. So this is also polar. Methanol CH3OH, again polar. How do you decide it's polar or not? You have to look into this OH bond. Whenever you see this del minus and del plus coming, you know that this oxygen is highly electronegative, hydrogen is less electronegative. So the bond will be more towards oxygen. That will induce a negative charge on oxygen, positive charge on hydrogen. So whenever you have this charge separation coming out, those are polar molecules. Okay, so obviously hexane is going to be non-polar. That is the one which is going to be soluble in N-octane. Okay, next. Okay, which of the following is amphoteric? Even though you don't know anything of this, you know only have studied only about SN2. That is going to be the answer. Now I'll tell you how is it amphoteric. It can react with both an acid as well as a base. Okay, what do you mean by acid? Okay, what do you mean by amphoteric? It can react with both acid as well as a base. Okay, SNO2 is one example. Right. Next, which of the following is thermally the most stable? Now down the group, thermal stability decreases. Right, H2O is the answer, which is going to be the answer because that is the first this thing. So down the group it is decreasing, so it should be maximum for H2O. Very simple, easy. Okay, next. The edge length of unit cells in terms of radius of spheres constituting FCC, BCC, and simple cubic. Right? They want to know what is the relationship. I know FCC is R is equal to A by 2 root 2. For BCC, R is equal to root 3 by 4A. And for simple cubic, R is equal to A by 2. 2A, R is equal to A by 2, right? Yeah, correct. Right? So you can easily answer the question. Right? So I think it would be A is equal to 2 root 2 into R. Where do I have 2 root 2 into R? Only in option D. So that's it. You can easily fix this. Done. Next. Propan 1-ol can be prepared by reaction of propene with, see, propene is this. Now you want to prepare propan 1-ol, CH3, CH2, CH2OH, right? Now, obviously, when you go for normally adding H2O, you have to follow Markovnikov addition, right? But what are you seeing here? This is an anti-Markovnikov product. So you have to go for what? Hydroboration oxidation. Hydroboration oxidation, where is it? Right here. Right? When you go for B2H6 and OH, H2O2, you are going to have anti-Markovnikov addition of water molecule. So OH will come in the anti-Markovnikov position. Right? Okay, next. Calculate the number of units present in 1 gram of glucose, which has a face-centered cube. I think we have already done this question in the previous test. Right? Guys, do you remember that? We have already done this question in the previous test. I think we discussed, right? Yes? No? Do you guys remember?
So can you explain it once?
Okay, sure. See, what I have to understand is, right, in FCC, right, they're talking about FCC. I know FCC will have 4 atoms per unit cell. Okay, I have 4 atoms per unit cell. Okay, now when I have 1 gram of glucose, I have to understand, okay, this is 1 unit cell, 4 atoms, 1 unit cell. Okay, now what I have to understand is in 1 gram of gold, how many atoms are there? That you have to first find, right? Then I can easily put, say, that many number of atoms, I can find this value, how many unit cell. Okay, so first I have to find in 1 gram of gold, how many atoms of gold are there. For that, you have to use your Avogadro number, right? So I know 1 mole of anything will have Avogadro number 6.023 10 to the power 23 atoms, right? And 1 mole will also occupy how much? 1 mole will also occupy the molecular mass of the particular compound, right? Now 1 mole means this many amount of atoms and this much mass will be there. So I'm going to connect these two. Okay. Now can someone tell me what is the atomic mass of gold? Quickly. Atomic mass of gold. Can someone check and tell me quickly? Have they given in the question? No. What is atomic mass of gold? Gold atomic mass, how much? 197. Okay, so what I understand is, if I can connect these two, 197 grams of gold AU will contain 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 atoms of gold. Okay, 197 grams, this many atoms. Now, how many grams I have? Only 4 grams I have. You can easily calculate this. Okay, so for 4 grams, how many atoms? So I will have 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 into 4 divided by 197. Okay, this is your number of atoms, gold atoms, in 1 gram of gold. 1 gram of AU. I hope you understood how am I doing this. This is from your 11th class. Molecular mass, if I have this many atoms, Avogadro number of atoms. So for 4 grams, how many atoms? You can easily calculate by cross multiplying. Okay, right. Now what we have? Now we have understood how many atoms are there. This many atoms of there gold are there. Now what we understand is, for 4 atoms, 1 unit cell, if I have 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 into 4 divided by 197 atoms, how many unit cells? That is the question. Okay, I can easily do this again. So X would be 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 into 4 divided by 197 into 4. This 4 will come, right? So 4 and 4 gets cancelled. So all you have is 6.023 divided by 197. Say approximately also I do. If I can write this as 600 into 10 to the power 21. I'm just writing it as 6. Okay, 6 into 10 to the power 23. I can write this as 600 into 10 to the power 21. I will replace this as 200. Again, very, very approximately I'm doing. Okay, say now this will go how many times? 3 times. Okay, so approximately you should get 3 into 10 to the power 21. Where do we have? Right here. 21 we should have. So 30 into 10 to the power 21. This is correct. Right? See, 21. I have 3 into 10 to the power 21. I can write this as 3 into 10 to the power 20 itself. Right? So I can easily get the answer. That is your answer. C. Not, oh, sorry, D is the answer. Okay, right. Next. If 2 liquids A and B form minimum boiling azeotrope at some specific composition, now it's very understandable. Minimum boiling azeotrope means positive deviation from Raoult's law. Okay, what is the case for positive deviation? PA is equal to PA not XA. Right, sorry, greater than PA not XA for positive deviation. Right, now when can the vapor pressure be higher? Now please understand, people. Right, see, before you mixed, I had solute-solute interactions, solvent-solvent interactions. Right, now when you make the solution, all you're going to have is solute-solvent interaction. Okay, now please understand the strength of the interaction, right, is inversely proportional to vapor pressure. Now you understand, right? Say for example, I have a liquid phase. Between one liquid and another liquid, I have a very, very strong force existing between that. This will find it difficult to go to the vapor phase. Obviously, less amount of vapor, lesser vapor pressure. I hope you get this point. Okay, that is why we say strong interaction means lesser vapor pressure. Okay, so after adding, if you find the solute-solvent interaction is very, very strong, the vapor pressure will decrease. But if it is before mixing, the solute-solvent interaction is very strong, then the vapor pressure in the solution would have been increased because this value would have been less. Right? If the solute-solvent interaction is weak, then higher vapor pressure. If solute-solvent interaction is very strong, then lesser vapor pressure. Okay, now this is what they're trying to ask here. Right? We'll try to answer the question. Right, so we have to understand that it is positive deviation. I want higher vapor pressure means the solute and solvent interactions would be weaker, right? So AB, that is solute solvent interactions, are weaker than those in A and B. Yes, correct. AB interactions are very, very strong. AB interactions are weak. So this liquid can easily go to the vapor phase. That means higher vapor pressure. Okay, so A is the correct answer to this question. Next, okay. 4s2 4p3. Okay, nitrogen will have 2s2 2p3. phosphorus will have 3s2 3p3, and what is the next element? Nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic. Right? Arsenic will have 3s2 3p3, so it is arsenic. B is the answer to this question. Okay, next. Phenol is less acidic than, okay, phenol is definitely more acidic than ethanol. Ethanols, like aliphatic alcohols, are less acidic. Okay, now we have to understand it is going to be less acidic. Now we have methoxy, orthomethoxyphenol, that is OH, and ortho position you have methoxy. Okay, now you have next one is ethanol, you okay. Next, orthomethylphenol. Okay, and you have what? Orthonitrophenol. Nitro is this. Okay, now I already told you electron withdrawing groups will stabilize the negative charge, that will increase the acidic strength. Right, now OCH3 is going to show me plus R effect. Okay, and CH3 is going to give me electron donating nature only, but it is going to be in terms of hyperconjugation. Okay, that is not that strong as in the case of OCH3, it is going to give me plus R. Okay, plus R means what will happen? The negative charge will increase, so the acidic strength will decrease. Same way, electron density will increase, so the acidic strength will decrease. But here, this is going to show me minus R effect, that will decrease the negative charge, increase the acidic strength. Okay, so this is definitely more acidic than phenol, right? If I had phenol only, here I have no electron donating, no electron withdrawing groups, so this is okay. But these two are decreasing because I have electron donating groups. But ethanol, when I have nitro group present, that is going to give me minus R effect, that will decrease the electron density on the oxygen, thereby increasing the acidic strength. Right? So phenol is less acidic than orthonitrophenol because orthonitrophenol is more acidic. Okay, next, which among the following forms basic oxide? Very simple. It's going to be what is it? The last element in the group. I think it is antimony, bismuth. Bismuth is the answer because bismuth is a metal. Okay, metals always forms basic oxides. Okay, non-metals always form non-acidic oxide. You can understand. For example, N2O5 you have. If you dissolve it in water, what are you going to get? You're going to get HNO3. But say if you have Na2O, metal oxide, now you put in water, what are you going to get? You're going to get NaOH. Now you see this is a base, this is an acid. So non-metallic oxides are acidic, and so yeah, metallic oxides are basic. Okay, next. Proteins are found to have two different types of secondary structures, are alpha helix and beta sheets. I think you know this. Okay, alpha helix proteins are stabilized by alpha helix proteins are hydrogen bonds. Either it's alpha helix or it is beta sheet, it is going to be only hydrogen bonds. Don't worry about it. Okay, very easy. Next, Carose acid. I think Carose acid is H2SO5. Right, that is what is Carose acid. Carose acid has a peroxy linkage. Now look at this. S double bond O, double bond O. Okay, now you are going to have OOH. Now you have accounted for 4 oxygens. Now there will be another oxygen like this. Okay, now this is the structure for H2SO5, Carose acid. Oh, I think this is not there in your syllabus, right? You don't have your oxy acids, right? Okay, but still we'll try to understand. No problem. Now you see that there is a OO linkage. This is -1, the rest all oxygens are minus. This is a peroxide linkage. Okay. Fine. So Carose acid has sulfur has +6 oxygen state. For whether we'll find whether it's first or correct or not. So you have -1, -2, -1, -3. Yeah. So H2SO5, right? H2SO5. Now 2 of the oxygen atoms are having -1. 2 into -1 plus 3 into -2 plus 1 for 1 hydrogen by 2 hydrogens will be equal to plus X is equal to 0. X is for sulfur. Okay, so if you do that, are you getting -2, -6, +1? So yeah, it is +6, correct. Right? So +6 is correct. Carose acidic group contains 1 peroxo group, absolutely right. And this is the correct explanation. That is why we are in +6 oxidation state. Okay, so both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Next, boiling point of alkyl halides increase with increase in molecular weight. Yes, correct. Okay. So boiling point of alkyl is in order Ri, RBr, RCl, RF. This is also correct. But why do I have increase in boiling point when I have increase in molecular weight? Because Van der Waals force increases. Right? That should have been the reason. So both reason, assessment reason are right, but R is not the correct explanation of A. B is the correct answer. Next. Fructose reduces Fehling solution in tolerance reagent. Yes, because it's a reducing sugar. We know that fructose is a reducing sugar. Okay. Fructose does not contain any aldehyde group. This is also correct, but still it is giving me tolerance test because it is having an alpha hydroxy group. I have, this is the structure, right? All the things will come. So this is your carbonyl carbon, that is C double bond O, which is having an alpha hydroxy group. Okay, so why it gives is because alpha hydroxy ketone is present. That is why it is giving me tolerance test. Okay, so A is true, R is true, but it is not the correct explanation. Okay, next. P4 is more reactive than N2. Okay, this is correct. Okay, now PP single bonds in P are much weaker than N triple bond in S. Absolutely true. So A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation for A. Next. Network solids are called giant molecules. Yes, for example, diamond, we have already seen. Graphite is soft in nature and conductivity. Yes, this is true, but this is not the correct explanation. Okay, so B is the correct answer. Next, if temperature of an aqueous solution increases, right? If temperature increases, what will happen to the volume? Volume will decrease, right? In molality, what do we have? Number of moles by volume. So if temperature increases, volume increases, molarity will increase. Correct. Okay. So there will be increase in molarity is what I'm looking for. If the temperature of aqueous solution increases, volume decreases, molarity should increase. No options are matching. The answer should be increase in molarity. Okay. Right. Decrease in molarity is not the answer. There is increase in molarity because temperature increases, volume decreases. Volume decreases means number of molarity will increase. The questions are not matching. Okay. Next. What should be the correct IUPAC name for diethyl bromomethane? Diethyl bromomethane. Okay, diethyl bromo. So I have a methane, for example, CH4. Right now, remove the two hydrogen atoms and put diethyl bromo. Okay, this is how we'll do. So I write CH2. Okay, CH2. Now I have to have diethyl bromo. So you would have had C2H5Br and C2H5Br. Okay, now how do we properly write this now? Diethyl bromomethane. Okay, so now you should write it like this: CH2Br, CH2. It is C2H4. Okay, C2H4Br, C2H4Br. Okay, so CH2, CH2Br done. In between, I have a CH2. Again, the same thing. CH2, CH2Br done. So now in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it should be 1, 5 dibromo. What is the number of carbons? 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, pentane. That is your IUPAC name. 1, 5 dibromo-pentane. Where do I have? Maybe then what we did is written wrong. 1 bromopentane, diethyl bromomethane. I think this compound does not even, this is a very wrong name given to this. Diethyl bromo or diethyl bromo, maybe.
Sir, I think
this should be CH3CH3. In the methyl group, I should have had a Br. That should have been the answer, I guess. Diethyl bromomethane. Diethyl bromomethane. Okay, so it should be 3 bromopentane. Is it there? Okay, that is there. Yes, 3 bromopentane is there. Yes. Okay. Next, I know Lucas reagent is dilute HCl and ZnCl2. Right. Next. 53 to 55. Okay. Chlorine in presence of this benzene ring with this, I can directly write. Okay. X would have been, you go for Friedel-Crafts chlorination. So you'll get a chlorine here. Next, Na in the presence of dry ether. Okay. Na in the presence of dry ether. This is your Fittig reaction, right? Hope you understand. Right. If I go 2 moles of this, when I go for sodium in the presence of ether, what are you going to get? You will remove the chlorine, you will form a dibenzo compound. 1 benzene ring, another benzene ring. This reaction is nothing but your Fittig reaction. Right? Okay. Now, fine. So that is about your W. Right? This is your W. This is your X. Okay. Now from X, what I'm doing? From X, I'm going for HNO3 power H2SO4. That is your nitration reaction. I know chlorine is ortho-para-directing. Okay. Chlorine is ortho-para-directing. So you'll get Cl, say NO2 here, plus para position also you will get Cl with NO2 here. Okay. This totally would have been your Y. Okay. Aqueous NaOH dilute HCl. What are we doing here? This is your Y. I have metanitro chlorobenzene, aqueous NaOH, 15 degree. Okay. So now any one you take, right? Now when you go for NaOH, what is going to happen? Generally, benzene ring will not undergo nucleophilic substitution. But because of the presence of this NO2 group, this can undergo nucleophilic substitution. So you will get OH and NO2 like this, or say in the para position, whatever it is. Okay, so this would have been your Z. Okay, fine, we'll go for the options. When X reacts with CH3COCl in the presence of AlCl3, the reaction is called now CH3COCl AlCl3 X. Now see, generally when you have your X, right, Cl, now you go for CH3C double bond OCl in the presence of AlCl3. This is your famous Friedel-Crafts acylation. C double bond O, CH3 will come here, right? This is your famous Friedel-Crafts acylation reaction. C is the answer to this question. Next, compound Z. Compound Z is what? It can be either para-chlorophenol or orthochlorophenol, but para-chlorophenol is only given. No, it is not even chloro, right? It is para-nitrophenol. Where is it? Para-nitrophenol. Yes, C is the answer to this question. Okay, next. Identify W. Where is W? W is this phytic reaction, right? It is a dibenzene compound. Okay, this is the right here. A is the answer to this question. Okay, so I think this question paper was easy for you, right? I hope everybody got all the answers we discussed now, right? Do you have any questions, people? Any particular thing you want to ask me? Okay, fine. If that's the case, we'll wind up the class. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, right. So we'll meet next week. Any particular questions anybody has, you can ask me right now. Any questions, anybody? Okay, fine. Thank you so much, people. We'll meet again next week.